The Mountains to Sea Trail stretches nearly 1,200 miles across the great state of North Carolina, crossing mountain passes, countless rivers and streams, and weaving its way through the heart and soul of the state. Walking across North Carolina on the Mountains to Sea Trail will not only lead you to unspeakable natural beauty, but to many communities across the state that embrace the trail and celebrate those who walk its path. But the MST is more than just a path. It is a community in itself. We hike it, we bike it, we paddle it, we build it, we maintain it, we advocate for it, we love it. We are the MST.
This trail does exist mainly because it has been those volunteers and because local communities have taken ownership of it. It is not a trail that is owned or controlled by one entity across the state. It is controlled by many in local areas.
There is a Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA road, that comes down from Hintuga Road to Big Witch Gap. It's about almost 4 miles. And that would bypass 3 of the tunnels that the Parkway had declared we do not want hikers going into the tunnels for a variety of reasons, and that's good. So this road would bypass 3 of those, so this would be very essential. It's a gravel road, it runs parallel to the Parkway. It's almost like walking on a trail, even though it's a road, and it's owned by the Cherokee. So I got involved with Pete Bodenhorst. He and I came over here and looked at different ways to get around this, and I said to Pete, has anybody gone over and talked to the Cherokee? Wouldn't it be nice to just go over there and talk to them, meet somebody? I made a couple of visits and talked around to people and found out that it was Larry Blythe. Larry was the vice chief. He used to be the forester for the tribe. He was the one that I needed to get up with. One day I went over to the tribal office and they said, well, Larry's here, but he's tied up right now. And I said, well, okay, I'll wait. So I sat there and waited, and finally Larry let me in to his office, and we had the best time. He said, you know, this does sound good. He started helping me to make this happen, that all we really needed was a resolution from the tribe, from the tribal council, to say that the Mountains to Sea Trail could come down this Bureau of Indian Affairs road and come out at Big Witch Gap. That's all we needed. And in the meantime, I got to know the superintendent of the Parkway, Mark Woods. I met with him several times, and he could see the value of this, because below Big Witch Gap, we had 2 more tunnels that we had to do something about. Refer back to the statement, you cannot hike through the tunnels. So we've still got a problem there. Some of us from the Carolina Mountain Club got with Alan DeHart, and he proposed a route around those 2 tunnels. I'd heard for years, you can't do it, there's a rock cliff there, it's impossible. And Alan kept saying, no, there's not. I'll take you over there and show you how to get around those lower 2 tunnels. We went out with Alan DeHart, my idol, and he showed us how to do it. Showed that to Mark Woods, the superintendent, and he said, I tell you what, if it's the last thing I do before I retire, I will get you a construction permit to the state to build that trail. So we got 2 agencies working on this. And during that time, they connected. So all of these agencies were getting together to form this agreement of how the trail should come down. And the thread was so interesting because they were emailing with Larry Blythe, my new friend, the vice chief, and Larry, they were inviting him to come over to Asheville for this meeting of all these agencies together. And Larry's response was, we'll have that meeting at the Tribal Council building. Go, Larry. Come to my house if you want to do this. I just applauded what he said in that email. They had that meeting.
As we move forward, it's important that we establish this type of networking, these type of relationships, so that we can educate people, including ourselves, how to maintain our trail systems, how to maintain really nature in general.
It was time to extend the Falls Lake Trail from Highway 50 all the way to Penny's Bend, and so that was 30 miles. Then we had to do a flag line from Highway 50 all the way to Penny's Bend. Well, before we can do the flag line, we had to have a written MOU, MOA by Army Corps of Engineers, NC State Parks and Rec, Wildlife Resources Commission, Durham County and Wake County Parks and Rec.
Wow.
So it took us 7 years to get that document signed.
Wow.
Yes. It was
and some perseverance.
Yes. It was very, very difficult. For the first 2 or 3 years, we had nothing but document editing, because it states very clearly what we're going to do, what North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission is going to do. And so it outlines all the responsibilities, and it's very hard to get all 5 of those players to agree on something. But we finally did it, and so after 7 long years, then we had to go out and get the flag line approved. And then we built that 30 miles within 5 years. And so I love telling the agencies that it took 7 years to sign the document, but just 5 years to build it with volunteer support. The Army Corps of Engineers here at Falls Lake, they love the Mountain Sea Trail. And in fact, they were the first signer on
wow.
that. And we felt like, because we even sat around a table and had an hour-long meeting, who wanted to sign first? And it was crazy. Well, I don't know if I can sign first, because we didn't need you to sign first. And I was like, oh. So the Army Corps of Engineers is kind of in the driver's seat at Falls Lake, and they finally said, we're going to sign it first, and we encourage all of you to sign this document because we support what's going on here at Falls Lake. So it was great to see that come together, but that's the red tape nightmare, email, letter writing that goes on behind the scenes to make a trail happen that people have
no idea,
clue about.
A little bit of background about Kelly. Kelly is a town on the Cape Fear River. Well, calling it a town now is a bit of a stretch. It has a general store, it has a church, it has a post office, but it used to be really a river and farm community along the Cape Fear River. And this amazing man named Richard Smith grew up there.
I mean, walking is fun. I mean, walking's good, but when you got a group that supports it, like the MST support the trail and everything, to walk on, that's the ones that really deserve a hand, because they're opening it up for a lot of people who wouldn't have a chance otherwise,
When we were laying out the route for the Coastal Crescent Trail, what I would do is we had created a draft route using GIS. What I had told the woman who did that for us that we wanted to use any trail that was available. And then I said, these are the different public lands we're trying to be close to, even if we can't get into, because eventually I hope that we could build trail in them. And then we wanted to have either a church or a convenience store every 10 miles. And the reason for that was for resupply and for possible camping. And so what happened was that I had met one guy named Albert Smith, and he was showing me different things, and we went down and we went to the Kelly General Store, and we walk in and Richard Smith was there. If you know Bladen County at all, it's like everyone knows each other, it seems like. And so Albert's always like, hey, Richard. And so Richard So he grew up there, as I said, and one of the things that he had done is he had made a Kelly Historical Museum in a church that was no longer operating as a church. And so he got really interested in this trail idea, and we started talking, and we went over to the historical museum in the church. And he was very excited about the trail coming through Kelly, and he immediately made the church a camping site. So then he got really worried about, well, where do people stay and where did they get water in either direction? Heading to the west, he knew somebody who lived 10 miles to the west, and we went up to see that person. But 10 miles to the east, you cross the county line, and the community there is called Kaintuck. It's really an African-American community, and he didn't know anyone there. He drove to Kaintuck. He saw a car outside a house, and he knocked on the door, and the woman who answered, he talked to her about it, and she agreed about, you know, where we could get water. And it turned out that she had grown up in Kaintuck, and she had gone to what's called the Rosenwald School. Rosenwald schools were schools that were funded actually by the founder of Sears, and Booker T. Washington had come up with this idea for how to help African American communities in the South build schools. And so in Kaintuck, there's still one of the schools, and they've made it a community center. So it's kind of Kaintuck's version of what Richard had done in Kelly with his historical museum. It's like this is their center of their community. So Richard took me back to meet her and her husband, and we sat in their living room, and we just sat there and talked about those people and their communities, but that he would do that for the trail, and the trail bringing people together in that really extraordinary way. I felt so honored to be there and listening to them, and just to think that the trail had that way of connecting people.
So the Coastal Crescent is our land-based trail route in eastern North Carolina, and historically the Mountains to Sea Trail went all the way along the Neuse River from the Falls Lake Dam to the Croatan National Forest. So basically it's about 8 counties, of which maybe 10% is off-roads.
So one of the big things that I did was I went from county to county trying to meet people in counties, particularly counties where there was a legislator with significant power in the influence for what we were trying to do. And so I would go to those counties and try and find people who cared about conservation. And what I found in going into the coastal plain in particular was that anywhere the Mountains to Sea Trail was supposed to go, they were really interested in it because of the economic development potential of it. They saw that. So I was thinking, well, that's very intriguing, and a way to do conservation and economic development and all these great things together.
Really, when I started this, I was working on this one project in Roseboro and for the Pondberry Bay Preserve in Sampson County, because that's where we have the longest section of trail with no off-road areas. And it's a big county. It's the second biggest county in the state. And so we were picking this one location to work on advocacy, really, to try and get permission to get the public into this state-owned preserve. There, I realized pretty quickly that the issue was more than just a design issue. It was really fighting on behalf of people who didn't have resources. And so we found out that, or at least for me, I found out that this was a community with no state park, no natural surface trail, not just MST, but really very, very little access to outdoor recreation. And so what I began doing was gathering GIS data, creating the base foundation for maps, and from there basically started to figure out, how do we create a trail? Where would it go? If there were no obstacles, where would we put it? And then started working from there to see who would work with us first. And that's kind of how all the projects have worked. And really what I did was I would go and I would meet people and basically go from there, see what had been started before I came on and how we could make it better. And from there, things start to emerge. once you start to create maps and draw lines on paper, you start to move past all the bad ideas until a good one comes up. From there, it was a matter of just making maps and coming up with ideas and going to get feedback and seeing, where doors would open and who we could work with, where we could get started. One of the things that has been really special to me is kind of having a whole new home in Eastern North Carolina. And Roseboro has been this sort of microcosm for that, where I've just learned everything about the town. I know a lot of people in the community. After many years of planting the seeds to get these projects going, to see it come to fruition, it means a lot. Roseboro's a really good example in a lot of ways because they are a lot like many of these Eastern North Carolina towns that are just waiting for some sort of spark to help reignite the community in a place where you're appreciated and welcomed in a different way than you are in a lot of other places. But what you don't understand until you really get a feel for it is the impact that people and communities have. And when you may do something that is smaller, low budget, and maybe not seen by as many people, but it is transformative in a way that many of these multi-million-dollar park projects are not, because you're taking a community who really hasn't had a lot of things to build hope or momentum around and giving them something, and it exponentially changes people's perceptions of themselves, their town, what's possible. And I think that's what the MST can do in the Coastal Crescent. We can really have a bigger impact there than anywhere else in the state. A lot of people tell me no, when I'm asking for permission for the trail to go on their property, or I'm asking to see if they want to, come out and help on a project or whatever. But it's not because they are anti-trail, it's just that they don't know what they don't know yet. And I found that after being persistent and after bringing in resources and after pestering and sweat and putting my sweat equity out there, people's minds change because they see me as a part of their community, because I've stuck with it, we've stuck with it. And now we're bringing grant funding and actually building something that the town can use. That is what we just have to keep doing, is educating people and showing them who we are, and that we are not going away, and that we are committed to benefiting them. And it's hard to build trust if you don't make that first move to be generous or to be giving or to be invested in them.
A good project would probably be the best asset they could get out of the whole thing. If we get a project down here, clean the trail up, keep it looking suitable, whatever needs to be done to keep it good. And they're always on projects like that, trying to open the trail up to more people and make it easier to take. And probably would be the best thing you could get was some good advertisement and let people know what you are truly about,
In Hillsboro, the trail follows along the Eno River right through town. And when they built that section of trail, it was a big step forward for the MST. The town planner for that part of the trail, several years after it was built, she was at a meeting and she got up and she spoke about what that trail had meant to Hillsboro. And she said that when she planned the trail and they built the trail, she was obviously really excited about it. She thought this is going to be a great recreational and conservation and amenity for the town. But she said what it's really become is like the main street of the town. It's like people meet each other as they're walking and they talk and they whatever, and they and it's like where the town convenes. And it was just so powerful to me to think that a trail could mean that for a small town.
I will tell you, the people in this town are so excited about this sidewalk, and they're learning about the Mountain to Sea Trail. Even though we've talked about it and I mention it and all the time, they're actually seeing it, and I have heard nothing but positive things about this sidewalk. I don't think anybody realizes how many people are so dedicated to the Mountain to Sea Trail. But yesterday there was a man from Bolivia here, a lady from Raleigh here. They had all driven well over an hour to get here. I mean, those are dedicated people that are wanting to help and are just dedicated to the Mountain to Sea Trail and see the value in it of connecting from Clingman's Dome all the way to the Outer Banks. And we have a absolutely beautiful state.
It's just, I think it's just those little things. And if you're out for a hike and you pick up a piece of trash on the trail, like boom, you've just volunteered to help the MST, right? You've helped keep the trail clean. So I think it doesn't have to be this big 8-hour day building trail, clearing trees. That's amazing and so important. But like, I think help people recognize that there's so many other little ways they can help. That doesn't have to be this massive commitment, that you can make a difference through these little steps. And hopefully, you progress over your time with the MST and you fall in love with it just as so many of us have, and get more and more involved, and maybe up on the board one day because you get so passionate about it. Or maybe you're inspired to through hike it one day or section hike it. And so I think you can start small and kind of get your foot in the door, and I think that's a really important way to tell the story.
I'm Jester.
And I'm Austin.
And we are the MST.
My name is Angel, and I am the MST.
Hey there, I'm Jennifer Farr Davis, and I am the MST. And so are you.
My name is Alice Butler. I'm the mayor of the town of Roseboro. I am the MST.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I am the MST.
And I'm Jason, and I am the MST.
Hi, I am Rowan, and I am the MST.
My name is Brent Lawrence, and I am the MST.
I'm Howard Lee, and I am the MST.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I am the MST.
Hi, I'm Tom Dellinger, and I am the MST.
Hi, I'm Danny Bernstein from Asheville, and I am the MST.
I'm Betsy Brown. I work with Friends of the Mountains to Sea Trail. I am the MST.
I'm Jeff Brewer, and I am the MST.
My name's Dwayne Patterson. I'm Director of North Carolina State Parks, and I am the MST.